All right, good afternoon, class. This is your professor, Dr. Jace, trying this yet again. I tried this for quite a while last night, and I was running into problems galore. So we are going to hope now that things have changed and that when I am on this work computer, that my recording software is going to function properly. Now, as you should have already seen in the email that I sent this morning, because the content is getting so late to you guys this week, you do not have to worry about trying to get your assignments done by tomorrow night or by Friday night, depending on when you actually look at this. So I'm actually recording this on the afternoon of April 5th, which is Thursday. Your content for this week is actually going to be due on April the 14th, which is a Saturday, at 11:59 p.m. Now, the thing is, even though I have extended the due date for week 4 content, I will be releasing week 5 content either this weekend or on Monday, and that content will also be due on April the 14th. So you're going to have a lot of things due on April the 14th, so I still recommend that you do not wait around until the last minute and then try to do all of the content for weeks 4 and 5. Try to get things done right now, okay? But having said that, we are going to go ahead and get into this. So, today's first lesson. Now, in this week, we will be talking both about industry and market research, but let's focus on the industry research piece in this video here. All right, so what are you going to learn today? You are going to learn the difference between industries and markets. You're going to learn major components of an industry analysis, both internal and external. And you are going to learn what's usually included in an industry report. Now, why is any of this important? Well, industry research is very important. It's an important skill to develop as a business student because once you understand the structure, the trends, the major players, and so forth in an industry, then the company can start to strategize on how to target potential customers, improve their market position, become innovative, and create and sustain value. And I know that some of you are probably going to actually end up starting companies one day. So if you actually end up starting a company, it is good to understand the industry. Understanding the industry is essential to entering a market. And so we want to go ahead and learn the difference between industry and market. So what you see here, to your left, you have industries, and to your right, you have markets. And an industry is a group of businesses that provide a particular product or service, while a market is the set of all actual and potential buyers of a product or service. So, one thing I want to do here is look at a few examples so that you can kind of get a little bit of a feel for this. Just remember, though, that these things are kind of intertwined. So, for instance, if we're looking at the airline industry, the industry itself, of course, is airlines, but then within the airline industry, you're going to have specific markets, including luxury airlines. You have a market for business travelers, and you have markets for regional airlines versus international airlines. So hopefully you can see that kind of breakdown. You've got something similar going on in the automobile industry, where within that industry you may have a market for used cars versus a market for new cars, and then also you might have specific other types of markets, for instance, marketing to those who are between 18 and 24 years of age, young folks, versus what types of cars you would market towards families versus young people. Also, the hotel industry. The hotel industry, within that, you may have leisure travelers, as a market within the hotel industry, and then you also may have a specific luxury hotel market, and then you may have a market for hotel stays from travelers from Asia or from Europe or etc. Another example that I like is within music. Music itself is an industry, but then you have markets within the industry. So you have maybe a market for country music within the music industry, or you may have a market for what do they call it? We used to call it teeny bop back when I was a young person. I don't know what they call it now, but you have segments or markets within industries. A little bit more information. A company can target multiple market segments within an industry, and an industry can be segmented into product markets usually by three things. So, and these three things are listed here, and that's by the characteristics of a product line, by a buyer group, which you can break down by demographics like age, gender, and race, or by geographic market. Moving on here, major components of an industry analysis. It's very important that you know and try to retain this information here. So, when you look at industry analyses, there are several major components. There's the industry overview. You see that first bullet there. And that industry overview is basically going to give you a brief description of what the industry is and what's happening in it. Your second bullet there is that news and innovations bullet, and basically that is what things are affecting the industry and are forcing major players to scramble to compete more effectively. Consumer market data. Basically what that means is that there are trends that customers are dealing with and where they spend their money and how they spend their money. Major competitors is a big one. Major competitors, how competitors interact with each other and how much of the market each competitor controls, or what would be generally referred to as a market share. Economic conditions. Those would be things such as if the economy is tanking or in a bad situation, which it looks like we may be approaching that right now as of this week. How does that influence the industry or the market? And then any sort, also that final bullet there, any sort of government regulations. So for instance, we know that the FDA is involved in regulating medicines and drugs and that sort of thing. And so companies that work within the pharmaceutical industry, they have to deal with the government regulations of the FDA in order to conduct business legally in the United States of America. Okay, and some of these things the industry reports contain. Now, at Kimball Library, we do have business databases that will include industry reports and surveys, and these reports usually will include the following information: market share and market size, how the industry operates, what affects growth within the industry, who major players are in the industry, what government regulations have influence within that industry, and then any sort of trends that are noteworthy in that industry. Now, market reports and industry reports, which I guess I'm talking about industry reports right now, industry reports are not uniform, so we hope that they all have all of this information, but sometimes you may have an industry report that lacks the market share, or you may have an industry report that does not tell you who the major players are. We're hoping that you can avoid that, but sometimes that is unavoidable. And finally, and I think this is my last slide that I'm coming up on here. Oh, that looks awful. Okay, let's move that guy. So what we want to talk about now here is these are some examples of basically pieces of what you're going to see in industry reports. So in this piece of the industry report, this executive summary, it's telling you what the growth is in the industry, and it gives you sort of a market value forecast. Then it also segments the industry, and then it will tell you what kind of rivalry you will have going on within that industry. So that's that piece, that executive summary piece. What in the world? Okay, yes, give me some of that. Give me some more of that. Okay, so this piece right here, this is just this is an example of how the industry operates, which you will also hope to see in your industry report. And this is from our Standards and Poor database, by the way, and this will give you just sort of a rundown on the different pieces in the industry and how they all fit together. All right. Oh God, I gotta keep moving these. We got market forecasts here, and a market forecast will give you the basically the value of the entire industry as well as growth and those sorts of things. Okay. And this is a breakdown of major players within the industry, and hopefully, again, you will have that as a piece of your market report. So you can see you got General Motors, you got Ford, you got Auto Alliance, and so forth and so on. These guys are major players within the automobile industry. And then you have industry trends, and these can help you follow the trends going on within the industry. I think and hope that's my last slide. Let's see. Oh yeah, I did put this little wrap up slide in. Okay, so just to wrap things up, to summarize what we've talked about here, analyzing an industry gives you a deeper understanding of the industry and the markets underneath it, and all of this information can help you make better and more informed decisions. Industry analysis can also help you just sort of join the right company as you seek employment, and some of these analyses put competitors against each other and can really start, and so then you can really start to see what the strengths and the weaknesses of each company are and what their company culture is. So this can be very useful as you are looking for jobs. So I am going to do a separate video for markets, but I didn't want this to drag on too long, so we're going to stop under 13 minutes here. If you have any questions, just let me know, and y'all know how to reach me. It is JALSTON at Coastal Carolina. Again, this is Dr. Jace, and good luck with your work. Thank you.